Mill Creek, Arrow Video, Code Red, new releases, re-releases, things that have never been on Blu-ray before. January is packed. The release schedule is awesome. Let's jump right into my and Pete's most anticipated Blu-ray and 4K releases for January. Let's do it. What was that? Like this video? Oh, okay. Please subscribe. And what was that? And leave your comment below letting me know which one of these titles you'll be picking up this January. Now let's jump right into it. Now I thought the release schedule for December was amazing. I wasn't really anticipating much coming out in January, but as I started going over all of the new releases in January, I actually saw a ton of really cool stuff coming out in January, and I'm gonna go over my favorites. Like, obviously this isn't every Blu-ray and 4K release. There is a ton of good stuff coming out. These are my most anticipated and things that I think that my audience, my subscribers, you guys will be into as well. There goes my phone. Now we are going to start in order of release dates, so that brings us to January 5th, and it brings us 3 new releases. First of which being Love and Monsters starring Michael Rooker. This will be getting a Steelbook release for you Steelbook fans over there. This looks like a really fun movie, a PG-13 monster love story. From what I got from the trailer, a young couple is separated during a massive monster uprising. They become separated, and the young boy makes a journey from miles and miles and miles to reconnect with his girlfriend. It stars Michael Rooker in what looks like a very Michael Rooker-ish role. It looks like a lot of fun, a little on the lighter side of things, which it's always good to kind of take a break from the real heavy horror and stuff, at least for me, that I watch. Next up, a reissue from Code Red. They're going to be re-releasing Savage Streets with Linda Blair and Linnea Quigley, which is a movie I still, for some reason, have not seen. Now, it does appear that this pressing will be having a slipcover. At least that's what it said. I had a hard time finding information about the slipcover with this release, but there's a bunch of special features. Throughout the years, I've heard many good things about this movie. It looks like a lot of fun, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking out Savage Streets, the Code Red reissue. And finally, for the January 5th release is 12-Hour Shift with Angela Bettis. This one looked really, really cool too. I remember watching a trailer for this a while back. It looked like a really fun horror movie set in an overnight shift at a hospital. The plot summary: bodies start to pile up when a drug-addicted nurse and her crazed cousin tried to find a replacement kidney for an organ trafficker. I've seen this trailer a couple times. I've had my eye on this movie for a long time, and it's finally getting its Blu-ray release, so I'm a big Angela Bettis fan. If you guys have seen the movie May, absolutely fantastic, from Lucky McKee, just great. She's also in The Woman. She's worked with Lucky McKee a few times. Great actress. This looks like a really fun role for her, so I'm really looking forward to 12-Hour Shift. Looks like a lot of fun. Now for the only release that I'm going to be talking about on this date, this is released January 8th, Grizzly 2 The Concert, or Grizzly 2 The Revenge. I'm going to link below to an article that gives you a little bit of backstory with this movie. This movie has never had a Blu-ray release. It stars George Clooney, Laura Dern. It's a sequel to a movie called Grizzly, which I'm not too familiar with, but apparently this movie is really infamous. It's never been released in its full form. It's basically a killer grizzly bear movie that just looks amazing, starring a very young George Clooney and Laura Dern. I'm not sure how much of the runtime they're actually in that movie for. I don't know if they're like, I don't think they're the main stars of the movie, but we finally got a full cut of this movie, at least a full of a cut as we're ever going to get. So I'm really looking forward to Grizzly 2. I know there's probably a lot of people that are pretty excited about this release, so I will leave the information about that movie below in the description box, and you guys can learn a little bit more about Grizzly 2. This is definitely probably my most anticipated release of January. I can't wait to see this movie. Moving on to January 12th. From Mill Creek, we're getting a new batch of the VHS style Blu-rays. Some people love these, some people aren't a fan. I myself am kind of a sucker for them, especially just not the titles are great, obviously, but then the slip covers are really, really cool. They come with these like VHS looking slip covers. We got one for Last Action Hero. I'm trying to avoid the glare. Last Action Hero, Sheena, The New Kids, and one of my personal favorite, Hard Bodies. These are really cool, a lot of fun. and the titles that will be getting a release: The Freshman, Crossroads, Blind Fury, and Like Father, Like Son. Blind Fury starring Rutger Hauer, which looks amazing, which I've never seen, but it looks super fun. Crossroads with Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai, the guitar movie, which is a super fun movie. High recommend on that one if you haven't seen it, especially if you're a guitar player. The Freshman, I'm not even embarrassed to say it, my most anticipated release in this batch of movies is Like Father, Like Son, with Dudley Moore and what's the religious guy, Kirk Cameron. It's a body swap movie. They made a shitload of those in the 80s, and this is a really, really fun one. If you're a fan of, it's like a Freaky Friday thing, body swap movie. Another body swap movie I really love from the 80s stars Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold, called Vice Versa, which is just another great body swap comedy. But I always had a soft spot for Like Father, Like Son, so I'm really stoked and was kind of surprised that they're giving that a Blu-ray release. But that's a cool thing about this Mill Creek line, is they're plucking titles that are kind of a little bit more on the obscure side, or things that you wouldn't see getting a Blu-ray release, and they're kind of ripping them from obscurity and giving them a nice release with the slipcover, and they're really cheap. Most of them fall at about $8 or $9 on Amazon. So next up, this is also on January 12th, 1990s, Buried Alive. This is coming from Kino Lorber. Together with her lover, Joanna kills her husband, poisoning him, then burying him. However, Clint isn't dead and tunnels out to take revenge. This one sounds like so much fun. I will definitely be picking this one up. Kino Lorber puts out great titles. Definitely look into Kino Lorber's releases. They really pick some fun titles to release and give a nice Blu-ray treatment for. The transfers look great. Looking forward to Buried Alive from 1990, and it does look like this will be coming with a slipcover. Next up, these releases will all be coming out on January 19th. First of which being a couple 4K titles from Shout Factory, Scream Factory, 4K editions of Prince of Darkness and They Live. Some more official 4K releases from Shout Factory's Scream Factory line. And now, like I keep on saying, and I hope I'm not seeing like a Debbie Downer about this, but it seems to me Scream Factory is releasing high profile titles. In my opinion, I think I'm going to bypass the regular release, because their pattern seems to be they will release a collector's edition, then they will do some sort of new 4K scan, then re-release it as a Steelbook, and then they will be releasing it for a third time with a 4K scan. So I would imagine all these high-profile titles will be following this pattern, because they are releasing the hell out of these movies. So if you missed out on a collector's edition of a really high-profile title, chances are you won't be missing out, and it will be coming out in 4K. They're doing that a lot lately, so just something to think about. Next up, for the first time on Blu-ray, one of my personal favorite comedies, Accepted, with Justin Long and Blake Lively. Super, super fun movie, and a really early role for Jonah Hill before he really blew up into kind of an Oscar-nominated actor. He's great in this movie. If you haven't seen Accepted, it's a really, really fun movie. Kind of came out of that early 2000s, mid-2000s boom of Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Judd Apatow movies. It kind of came out of that boom. And this is one that stuck out for me a little bit as being pretty well written, a fun story. Justin Long lies to his parents about getting accepted to a college. When they ask him if he got accepted, he makes up a fake college and a curriculum and all that stuff, and eventually starts this fake college with a bunch of other students, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a great 2000s comedy. I highly recommend seeing it if you're a fan of Justin Long, the beautiful Blake Lively, and Jonah Hill as well. Not the beautiful Jonah Hill, he's a beautiful man, but anyway, it's just a lot of fun. I definitely suggest checking out Accepted. Next up, Beach Babes from Beyond from Full Moon. This is another one I have yet to see, but definitely caught my eye. One that I've heard of, and it's finally getting a Blu release from Full Moon. So you Beach Babes from Beyond fans, you're finally getting your wish. You'll be getting a Blu-ray on January 19th, so check that out from Full Moon Entertainment. Next up, a big one here. If you are a fan, this is a very polarizing movie, but on January 19th, a Serbian film, for better or worse, we'll be getting a 4K release from Unearthed Films with a bunch of new special features. Obviously a brand new scan. This is one of those love it or hate it movies, but this will be a fully uncut version of a Serbian film in a 4K scan. So if you're a fan of Serbian film, or you're just curious and haven't seen it yet, this would probably be a good way to introduce yourself to the movie. Serbian film, what else is there to say about that one? It's pretty infamous for its content, so definitely check that out. That'll be coming out January 19th. And finally, our January 26th releases, a pretty big one from Arrow Video, Southland Tales. This is from director Richard Kelly. I believe it was his follow-up to Donnie Darko. This is one of those love it or hate it movies. I know when it first came out, it was kind of critically panned and wasn't well received, but since has become somewhat of a cult classic. So if you're a fan of Southland Tales, that's finally getting a really nice release from Arrow Video, so check that out on January 26th. Next up, Synchronic from Wellgo USA. Now this one really caught my eye because of the cool premise, a really badass looking trailer. Watch the trailer if you haven't seen it, but for me, what really stuck out is this is from the creators and directors of Spring and The Endless, which are two amazing movies. I actually just talked about Spring in my last underrated horror movie video, episode 2, that I'll also link below, but there's some super talented filmmakers, this duo, I forget their names right now, but Synchronic coming out from Wellgo USA. Watch a trailer for that. It looks super interesting. And finally, Fat Man starring Mel Gibson. This one looks like quite a little movie here. I'm going to read the plot description here. To save his declining business, Kris Kringle, also known as Santa Claus, is forced into a partnership with the U.S. military. Making matters worse, Kris gets locked into a deadly battle of wits against a highly skilled assassin hired by a precocious 12-year-old after receiving a lump of coal in his stocking. And you have Mel Gibson starring as Santa Claus. So if that sounds interesting to you, I haven't watched a trailer or anything for that, but it looks interesting. Obviously, it sounds insane. Mel Gibson has done some wild movies lately. So if you're interested in Fat Man, that will be getting its Blu-ray release on January 26th. Guys, that is all I got today. Be sure and check out my past videos. I've put out a bunch of really cool videos, including 2 episodes of my underrated horror movies, news updates, physical release videos, all that good stuff. Check the playlist, check the past videos, subscribe. Please give this video a like, and that's all I got, guys. Stay weird, and until next time, bye.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies. I love watching them, and I love making them.